Okay, hi everyone. Okay, now we're going to touch on the different types of business structures. We actually touched on this earlier in the previous presentation, but this is a continuation. So if you haven't watched the first video, you should go and look at the first video on our YouTube channel. Okay, when you start a business, right, you need to decide a business entity structure. Then you need to register with the Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority of Singapore, which is ACRA. And then usually you need to look for ACRA filing agent. So the types of business entity structure, previously we touched on sole proprietorship, partnership, and limited partnership. Today we're going to touch on limited liability partnership, LLP, and companies. Okay, so let's touch on companies first. A company is actually a business form. So when you start business, you can start up a company. And this is a separate legal entity as compared to its shareholders and directors. So previously for something like sole proprietor, the sole proprietorship and the owner of the sole proprietorship is one legal entity. But here when you form a company, right, you are a separate legal entity and it's distinct from the shareholders and the directors. So it's as though a new entity or a new person is being born. Okay, and the types of companies that you can form, there are three types of companies that you can form. So if you have 20 members or less and you have no corporate shareholdings, means none of your shareholders are another company, then you are an exempt private company. If you have 50 members or less, or if you have corporate shareholding, then you're a private company. And then if you have more than 50 members, then you are a public company. Okay, so the members have limited liability. So if you are a shareholder of the company and the company owes, let's say, another company money, then that company, that company's monies will be liable. And that means that the company has to pay. But if the company can't pay, that the person who the company owes money to, that particular company or that particular person can't come to you and say, hey, you're a shareholder, so you have to pay for the debts of your company. You can't do that. I always give people an example, like today if you go and buy shares of, let's say, Apple or shares of DBS, okay, you are a shareholder, you bought the shares on the stock market. If let's say Apple or DBS goes bust, the people who Apple or DBS owes money, right, they can't come to you and then say, oh yeah, you owe us money, so you have to pay up for the company which gone bust. So you can't do that. The company can sue or be sued in the company's name and can own property in the company's name. Okay, so members are not personally liable for debts or losses of the company. This is one of the main reasons why whenever we meet clients who want to start up business, then we will advise them to open a company, because the company is a distinct entity, a separate entity from themselves. Okay, so a company requires at least one shareholder, and this one shareholder, right, and it requires one director. So this one director has to be an ordinarily resident in Singapore. Okay, I have had a few clients who actually asked me, I am a Singapore citizen, but I'm staying overseas. For example, I'm staying in London. Can I act as the resident director of the Singapore company? No, you can't, because you are residing in London, you are not residing in Singapore. But if let's say you're a foreigner and you hold the valid passes and you are residing in Singapore, you can be that one director that is ordinarily a resident in Singapore. So it has to be somebody who is staying in Singapore, who is a resident in Singapore. Okay, that director has to be at least 18 years old. So like I mentioned, if a foreigner wishes to act as the local director, he can apply for the entree pass from the Ministry of Manpower. If you're not familiar how to apply for entree pass, can look for us as well. Okay, so undischarged bankrupts, right, you cannot be a director or manage a company without approval from the court of official assignee. So why is it that a lot of people, some people may not want to set up a company? Okay, it's actually more costly to set up a company. The registration fees are already a few times of what it would cost to register a sole proprietorship. There are more formalities and procedures to comply with. like for example, you need to do things like you got to file your annual returns, or every time you want to make changes, you got to pass a resolution and file them. So you have to appoint a company secretary within 6 months of incorporation, and you must appoint an auditor within 3 months after incorporation, unless the company is exempt from audit requirements. So if you're not sure whether you're exempt from audit requirements, you can check with us. You have to file the annual returns, like I just mentioned. Um, every year you got to file your financial statements with ACRA, so you can get your company secretary, your corporate secretary to do it for you. Okay, you must comply with all the statutory requirements for general meetings, directors, company secretary, and share allotments. Okay, so in a company, right, profits are taxed at corporate rates. Yeah, but currently the Singapore government is very pro-business, so there are tax exemptions for companies, and it makes it quite attractive to do business in a company structure. So if you want to learn on how you can maybe lower your tax rates, you can look for us as well. So a company has perpetual succession, unlike a sole proprietorship, whereby the sole proprietor and the owner of the sole proprietorship are one distinct entity, which means that if the sole proprietor, if the owner of the sole proprietorship passes away, that sole proprietorship closes down. But the company has perpetual succession in the sense that, let's say today I own 50% of the company, and I want to pass it on to my next of kin, maybe my children. Then I can do so. I can go to my corporate secretary and say, okay, I wish to transfer the 50% shares of this company to my next of kin. Uh, on top of that, a company can attract investors. It can sell its shares, can pass on the company shares to next of kin. So a company is something like, okay, today we have 100 shares, but an investor wants to come in and be part of the company, part of the shareholders of the company, wants to maybe inject some money. Then he say, okay, I can sell you part of my shares, or I can issue new shares. Okay, so this is how people do fundraising. So a lot of times, one of the main reasons why people start a company is that uh, it can attract investment. People can invest in your company, but they can't invest in your sole proprietorship. Okay, then next is limited liability partnership. I put it after company is because I put it after the company presentation is because I feel that it's pretty similar to company structure. And LLP, right, is a structure which like maybe lawyers or accountants they use. So sometimes they tell you, say, I'm a partner in this law firm. So what does this mean? Okay, the law firm is usually a LLP. So let me go through what LLP is. So LLP is a partnership. So the individual partner's own liability is generally limited. So at least two partners, there's no maximum limit to the number of partners that you can have in an LLP. It is also a separate legal entity from its partners. That means that whatever happens to this LLP will not have direct bearing on the partner's own assets. Okay, so you can also sue or be sued in the LLP's name. So like example, maybe some accounting or law firm can sue another LLP, or can sue another company, or can sue an individual. Okay, you can also own property in an LLP's name, just like you could in a company. And the partners are personally liable for debts and losses resulting from their own actions. So for example, if you're a partner in, let's say, a law firm, then due to your own actions, right, you created a loss, then that loss is only only you have to bear for that loss. The other partners, right, within the LLP are not liable for the losses that you created. So this is the next point. So partners are not personally liable for debts or losses of LLP incurred by other partners. Okay, so you need at least two partners, as mentioned before, can be individuals or body corporate, which means that an individual, like let's say myself, can form a LLP together with a company. Okay, so at least one ordinarily resident manager in Singapore, or at least 18 years old. So the same thing, you have to be a resident in Singapore. Doesn't mean you have to be a Singapore citizen, but you have to be staying in Singapore as a resident of Singapore, and you must be at least 18 years old. And as usual, undischarged bankrupts cannot manage the business without approval from the court or the official assignee. Okay, so why do people set up LLPs? Okay, it's actually quick and easy to set up, and it's actually they have actually fewer formalities and procedures to comply fewer formalities and procedures to comply with than a company. So the registration cost is minimal, and there are fewer regulatory duties to adhere to than a company. So there are no statutory requirements for general meetings, directors, company secretary, share allotments, etc. like in a company. So that's why some people, but generally like maybe lawyers, they tend to set up LLP, so they can say that you can participate in the law firm by being a partner of the law firm. So this is what it means. Okay, so what do you need to do if you have an LLP? So every year you need to declare the solvency or insolvency of the LLP, and it must be lodged by one of the managers stating whether the LLP is able or unable to pay its debts during the normal course of business. The profits are actually taxed at the partner's personal income tax rates, and if corporate, as in if it's a company that is part of the LLP, then you will be taxed at the corporate tax rate. So the LLP has perpetual succession until one or struck off, just like a company. Okay, so that comes to the end of the presentation. We hope that we actually give everyone quite good overview of the different business entity structures. So if you are keen to start a business and would like to seek some advice, you can actually contact my colleague or myself. So my colleague is actually Corinne. This is her contact number, and then myself, I'm Daryl. That is my contact number. Those are emails. So if you want to ask us anything with regards to corporate secretarial matters, then please contact us by our mobile phones or by our emails. Okay, thanks. That's all.